All right, all right. Welcome to Tommy's Take. I'm live here on YouTube, and it's my first ever live, episode one. I'm really excited to get started with my YouTube journey. It's not my first rodeo on YouTube. I had some experience, not a lot of experience, but had some experience before on YouTube. But yeah, just really excited to get started here. Thank you guys for joining. Subscribe, like to the channel, joining the conversation. Hopefully, we got a great first episode for you today. Once again, it's Tommy's Take, and today's episode we're going to look at a few things. One of them being never before seen footage of Tyler Farnsworth is taking out the SD card. Candace brought that up on her show last night. We're also going to look at Jared Kushner and what he's doing with Gaza and his talks with Bibi Netanyahu, and we'll also look at what's going on with the Iran war. So yeah, just real excited to do this. I was a little nervous, still am a little nervous. Um, but just real quick, a little bit about my political background. Not much. I'm not really political, but I've become a little bit more political recently. But really, um my entry into politics and my interest in politics started with Barack Obama in 2008 when he appeared on the Oprah Winfrey show. And I'm like, who is this guy? Right? Who is this guy? He's very charismatic, spoke well, good looking guy, young guy, black guy. And he had this great message. Um, and I was younger, of course, um, my 20s at that time, late 20s at that time, I believe. And that was the first time I ever voted. Again, like I said, I was never like hardcore political. I've never been that way. I'm still not that way, but I am interested in politics. Um, but I voted for Barack Obama in 2008. I was excited. I was very excited. It felt like he spoke for the masses. He spoke for the worker, just the regular guy, the regular American. And after his first term, I realized, wait a minute, we're still in the same situation. You had the bailout, which I didn't understand it. Why he had to bail out um large corporations, right? The big three, the car industry, the automobile industry. And then he got his second term. He won his second term overwhelmingly. I was rooting for him then too, because I thought he was just a better candidate. At that time, I think he was running against I don't remember if it was McCain or if it was Mitt Romney. But I know he ran against both of them. So and then after that, I was on the Bernie train, right? Bernie Sanders and his message. I was like, wow, this is kind of like Barack Obama, but with a little more fire, a little more intensity. Um, and he had the grassroots, he had the people behind him. I started getting into YouTube more, watching Jimmy Dore. I learned a lot from Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks. And then he lost. He lost, and the way he lost was so deflating. How he gave up at the end with Clyburn. Jimmy Clyburn stepped in to the last minute and endorsed Joe Biden, and that was just gut wrenching for me. And at that point, I kind of lost interest in politics. I just felt let down. And um, and from there, I kind of just didn't really give much attention to politics. Um, and then Trump won, and that was also interesting. But again, Trump was in. It was interesting, but I wasn't really into it like that. I was just watching. They would bash him all the time on CNN and all the Democratic establishment media, cable news. It wasn't really until the second Trump term that I really started to get back into it. Um, when I saw how Biden and Kamala, um, what they did, I just didn't like it. I didn't like all the open borders, the inflation, what was happening in our country. Uh, just so many things. The Me Too movement, the wokeism, arguing over bathrooms and gender and all those types of things. And I'm for everybody, having their rights, but it just seemed like what was in the news wasn't really relevant to everyday Americans, everyday people, and also what was happening to our country as far as like immigration and inflation. Look, I'm a son of immigrants, Haitian American, um, and I understand why immigrants want to come here, and I'm for immigration. I'm for immigration. Have no problem with immigration. I really don't have a hatred. I don't have that hatred like that I see, amongst a lot of Republicans, MAGA Republicans for immigration. I don't have that, but I also don't want to see just millions of illegals coming in without documentation. I don't think that's good for the country. Excuse me. Um, however, um, I didn't vote for Trump in 2024. I thought about it really hard. I'm an independent, by the way. I thought about it really deeply, and even though I did like Trump's positions, especially with the America First, I didn't feel comfortable voting for him, and I'm glad I didn't. Although, if you put a gun to my head, I would have voted for him over Kamala Harris because that just would have been uh, 4 more years or 8 more years of what Biden has done. What is basically serving the oligarchy, big business. So now to get to where I am today, um, with what Trump has done, and going back on basically all of his campaign promises, you realize that no matter who you put into the White House, they're always going to serve the establishment. They're always going to serve the billionaires, the oligarchy, and the middle class, the regular Americans are going, or all Americans, middle class, lower class, are always going to be in the background. And something that has been said and that I realize is that the president doesn't really have or hasn't shown the ability. Maybe it's because of the way our system is set up, our governmental system is set up to really have an influence um, in domestic policy and domestic issues. Um, but who knows? Maybe that can change. And I think it can change. I think the focus for the president, of course, is on foreign policy. That's where he's able um, to have more influence because he has more power on foreign policy, more control over foreign policy. But however, I think if the president can take his focus off of other countries, this has been said by many commentators, if the president can take his focus off of um, other countries, stop uh, giving money to other countries, particularly smaller countries in the Middle East that we know of. So many bases around the world um, that cost a lot of money, and that's why our defense budget is, over $1 trillion, $1.5 trillion. If you scale that back, that leaves more money for domestic, right? Domestic spending, which is greatly needed. Um, so that's what I'm for. And also, I'm for what Candace Owens is doing. Candace Owens has been someone that, before, while she was with Daily Wire, and I never really listened to her. I'd see her on, Fox News and things like that. I see her with Kanye, and you watch clips of her, but I didn't really know Candace Owens until she was fired from the Daily Wire, and she started her own YouTube channel, and it was just very interesting, um, how she presents the news. She's very honest, very truthful. So I'm Team Candace. Learned a lot from her. She opened my eyes and how to view politics in the world and as an American. So that gave me inspiration to, to get on YouTube and use my voice, give my perspective. I consume so much media, so much information. I say to myself, why not get on here and give my take? So that's where I am with that. My inspiration to start this YouTube channel has been that a lot of it has been contributed to Candace Owens and um, that cohort. Ian Carroll, Baron Coleman, etc. So, uh, with that said, let's get into the show. Again, it's my first live, so I'm very excited, a little nervous, and just bear with me. We got to start from somewhere. So let's go ahead and look at what Candace Owens. She had the debate a few nights ago, late last Friday, with Andrew Wilson, and we all watched that debate. I made a video yesterday on that. One of the issues in that debate, with TPUSA claiming that they're very transparent. They're opening to being asked questions, and they're forthright with presenting whatever information that they have. But we all know that's not true. That's not the case. They've been very sketchy, and um, just lying all the time. And then they send their uh, debate guru, Andrew Wilson, to Candace, and she just, wiped the floor with them. And in yesterday's show, she presented some footage that I'm going to show you guys here, and then we'll kind of talk about it. Let me bear with me, guys. This is my first time going live. Let's see here. Okay, so we got Candace here is discussing in last night's episode. She's discussing how she has been sitting on this video. She's always known what Farnsworth did with the SD card. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video right here.
Here is what Terrell did thereafter, seen for the first time. Terrell is there. He looks around again, nervously, and he puts the SD card in his pocket and he zips up. He doesn't run to the other cameras and try to grab the SD card. Instead, what he does is he whips out his phone and he begins texting with someone. And that's what he does. He's texting with someone to say what? Who's he texting? What's he saying? If he's just out there fighting evil and worried about securing the footage, Why didn't he grab the other SD card or three of them in a row? Who is he in communication with after he grabs that? Because I got to tell you something, Andrew. Were it me and I was amongst my peers,
Sorry about that. Bear with me, guys. Okay, here we go.
SD card in his pocket, and he zips up. He doesn't run to the SD card in his pocket, and he zips up. He doesn't run to the other cameras and try to grab the SD card. Instead, what he does is he whips out his phone and he begins texting with someone. And that's what he does. He's texting with someone to say what? Who's he texting? What's he saying? If he's just out there fighting evil and worried about securing the footage, why didn't he grab the other SD card or three of them in a row? Who is he in communication with after he grabs that? Because I got to tell you something, Andrew. Were it me and I was amongst my peers,
Okay. So what it looks like to me is Terrell Farnsworth is um completed what he needed to complete. He did what he had to do. And after Charlie was shot, it was known that the camera, Candace has mentioned this many times, other commentators as well, would have gotten a clear view of what really happened. So he knew that he had to, right, remove that SD card because that would have been evidence that Charlie Kirk wasn't it doesn't fit with the narrative that Charlie Kirk was not assassinated by someone atop the Losi Center with a 3-06. He that is Taylor Farnsworth removed that evidence, and that's what Candace is talking about. Again, this is another shady, sketchy um, part coming out of TPUSA that needs to be looked at. And Candace is she's asking questions, which is okay, which is totally okay to do. Um, Tells Farnsworth, as you know, he went around and he did the live stream after Charlie was shot, and he had it was just weird, just real weird the way he did that. Oh my God, Charlie's dead. Charlie's dead. You guys remember that? Um, Me in particular, uh, this whole TPUSA thing, it's like it is analogous of what our government's doing. They are gaslighting us. They don't care. They don't care about regular people. All they care about is power. So much so that they allow uh, other countries to we're bribed basically by other countries. Um, Got another clip here that I want to show you. Just earlier, some earlier footage here. Bear with me, guys. So this is what Charles Farnsworth was doing on the other side of the tent. We all seen this footage here. Let's just look at this. He's looking around, watching it. Moving on the other side, taking goes back and looking around, anxiety, and then he puts the SD he goes on his phone and he starts texting. I think he's texting someone letting him know, hey, I have secured the SD card. I've secured the SD card. And then he sent footage to the FBI, and the state FBI for Utah. But that footage he sent them wasn't the original footage. It was cropped. So he still has the original footage from behind Charlie Kirk. Okay. All right. So let me know what your thoughts and opinions are on that. And we're gonna move into the next story. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the Andrew Wilson debate that we all saw. Um, Again, there's so much to look at in this Andrew Wilson, Candace Owens debate. So many different things happened there. Um, Andrew Wilson, again, I think it was like a tactic that TPUSA used. They knew they wanted Andrew Wilson to go after Candace Owens and to debate her. So the only way they could do that and to pay him, all that money was to act like he came in to teach TPUSA employees how to debate. So when Andrew Wilson came in and he's debating Candace, as you know, he did not substantiate any of his major claim, which was that the evidence was overwhelming. He really did embarrass himself to come into this debate, which is a historical. It's a historical debate. To come into debate not prepared, to come into debate not in good faith, and to continuously pivot right from being able to substantiate his claim that the evidence was overwhelming. So let's go ahead and look at
charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next two charges are for obstruction of justice.
So real quick, as you know, before this, before I show you this clip, it's been, Candace has mentioned this. Like, if you are following this case, if you're following this case, and you are someone that is supposed to be a master debater, you've been sent by TP USA, you would think that you would know, if your claim is that the evidence to convict Tyler Robinson on the charges that he killed Charlie Kirk, you think you would know what the charges are. And it's obvious that he doesn't. It's obvious that he hasn't been following this case, and he doesn't really care about the case. He cares more about the money. PBD said that he won. PBD said that Candace and Andrew Wilson won, but that Andrew Wilson was the bigger winner because he made some money. His viewership increased. So from a business side, PBD says that Andrew Wilson won, and that's not something that I jive with. That's not something I rock with, because your character, who you are, your morals, your principles, your integrity, all that matters more than a paycheck or viewership. And so for PBD to put it in that light, I'm just not with that. I'm not with that. It's not always about money, but for some, it is. So let's go ahead and watch Candace just embarrass him.
The question, you're just not following it enough.
It seems pretty, like, if you're going to engage and you're going to say the evidence is overwhelming that Tyler Robinson is guilty, I just think that you should, like,
right.
Can you tell me one?
Then let's do the counter. You can really, hang on. This is a great gotcha.
No. You just got to ask me, play clips out of context, put me in the hot seat. So please just answer the question.
This is fair.
And that's another thing too that Candace mentioned. He wasn't supposed to come with all these clips. That wasn't part of the debate, because again, all these clips that he showed in that debate had nothing to do with his claim. So he was really like this was like smoke, right? This was just like a smoke bomb. Like, all right, I'm coming under the guise that I'm going to substantiate my claim. That Tyler Robinson, the evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. But then why are you showing all these clips of Candace Owens, like, trying to do gotcha moments? Because that's not why you're really there. There's no way you can prove, or there's no, as he termed, positive evidence to show that the case for Tyler Robinson killing Charlie Kirk was overwhelming. There's no evidence for that. So
name all seven since you've been following the case.
Okay, sure. You name one.
Yeah, you named all seven.
I'm happy to do that, but can you name one?
I think he's been charged with murder.
That's actually incorrect.
I think the master debater says, I think he's been charged with murder.
Okay, great. Now name all seven.
He doesn't even. This is like
name all seven.
And I
can you name all seven?
I can.
Then do it.
Sure, you don't have to
do it. No, do it. I'll count them. Go ahead.
You don't have to put your fingers up.
Okay, hang on. Name them.
Yeah, so he's just trying to use intimidation. He's being a D-head, an asshole. He's trying to use intimidation. Look at his face, Yeah, just really annoying. I felt really annoyed watching this debate. I wasn't really happy with the way the debate went. I feel like there was so much more that could have been said. Candace was really nice about it, I think, because she knew that this guy didn't know anything. And also, I think PBD, look at PBD smiling, smirking a little bit, but I think he could have done a better job as well in moderating and getting Andrew Wilson, not like he's showing favoritism, but getting Andrew Wilson to stay focused on his claim, on defending his claim, because that's what he was there for. And I think that's where PBD failed as a moderator. Although he did allow them to speak, He did allow them to speak. He didn't, take over the show, which is good, but he needed to get a little more control. He needed to get a little more control, and he didn't do that.
Yeah, sure.
Name them.
The first charge is aggravated murder because that's what carries
Okay.
a death sentence
So
in the
murder.
state of Utah. No,
Next.
that is literally not murder.
Okay.
And
Next.
so just for people, I don't have to do it in a time limit. There's nothing going on. And just to explain to people the difference of why that really matters and shows that he doesn't actually care about this at all is because aggravated murder, it's narrowly defined,
Just
and because
avoiding
it
the
carries
question.
a death sentence. I'm going to answer the question.
Okay.
You're just going to recognize that your strategy of thinking that people are intimidated when you.
Yeah, he's just trying to throw her off. She's speaking. He just keeps saying little things. You're avoiding the question. You're not answering the question. What question? You asked her to name the 7 charges, and that's what she's doing. So how is she avoiding the question? Just total dishonesty.
Try to put a time constraint doesn't work, and you'll be better the next time you debate.
I got it. Give me the other ones.
The more you cut me off, the longer I'll take. Do you want to just wait for me to finish of why that's a big difference so that people don't walk away?
No, I just want you to list the charges.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. You just don't get to pretend that there's a time constraint for me to do that.
Well, how long does it take you to list 7 charges?
Because I'm speaking. You just got to.
It sounds like you're just delaying it because you don't know.
Well, it's taking this long because you keep talking, Andrew. You got to shut up. You got to shut up and let her speak because you don't know the charges, right? You don't know them, obviously. Let her list them.
Okay. I know all 7 of them,
Then
and I'm going to say
them
again, because you're going to get embarrassed. You don't have to rush this. I'm also showing an example of a very flawed debate strategy. I actually am under no time constraint.
I got one.
Great. The second charge is the felony discharge of a weapon. The next 2 charges are for obstruction of justice.
Okay.
The next 2 charges are for witness tampering. And
what's the specific charges, though?
That is them. Obstruction of justice, obstruction of justice, witness tampering.
Okay, and there's no other specifics to them.
Well, I can tell you why he's being charged.
No, just the charges and then 7.
Yeah, see, the bad thing is when you try to be an a-hole and it doesn't work.
What's the 7th?
The last charge is violence in front of a minor.
Okay, got it. So then he's being charged with murder. You just say aggravated murder. That's the distinction. You just want to.
It's a massive. It's like you cannot say murder versus aggravated murder.
Distinction.
This gets to the entire crux of why him being up for the death sentence. And I actually find the defense's filing about why this is not aggravated to be very compelling of why it's not aggravated murder. I actually think that if the state was going to even try to pull this off, they should have charged him with just murder. And then I do also, again, want to stress to audiences that debate strategy gets some sport. I think he thinks it's a blood sport. It's not. It's about being right and being principled when you're engaging. And you can make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but at least be genuine in pretending that you care about this case enough to know one of the 7 charges that are up against Tyler Robinson. When you see,
look at that, and Candace Owens, Baron Coleman calls her the principal, and that's what this feels like. Like, Andrew Wilson is in the principal's office and he's back talking. He's one of those, those teenagers, high school kids that, they're so arrogant. They think they know everything. And now he's been sent to the principal's office and he's still spouting off. He's still flapping his gums and the principal is putting him in his place, and this is embarrassing for him. Very, very, very embarrassing.
The evidence is overwhelming that he's guilty. If you would like to move to final statements, I'm fine. I want to make sure Andrew has had the time that he has requested.
I think your team would like to pull up the 7 charges that he just asked you about. If you guys want to pull that up just to confirm the 7 you went through.
Bam.
Can you guys zoom in a little bit? For
aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, which is counts 3 and 4, 5 and 6, tampering with a witness. And count 7
violent
offense in the presence of a minor.
Yeah. So 5, 6, tampering witness, 3rd degree felony. Now I did notice something I just was curious about.
So look at what he does. Candace Owens just listed all 7 charges from the dome. And Andrew Wilson challenged her, but yet Andrew Wilson doesn't even acknowledge that Candace Owens just did what he asked. He doesn't even acknowledge it. He wants to pivot and move on to something else. This is his debating tactic because he has nothing. He has nothing except for He came to defend, to advocate for TPUSA, Israel, and to collect his money. To gain popularity. According to PPD, he's the big winner. He's the big winner. He's a bigger winner than Candace, according to PPD. And Stephen Crowder. Stephen Chowder Crowder.
If I'm just wondering, when you pulled out your phone just before you asked that question, did somebody by chance text you that question?
You can check my.
Man, he's desperate. That's desperation right there. You're trying to find a way to discredit Candace Owens, and he's so desperate. He's like drowning, right? And he's just flailing. He's flailing, and he's looking for a life raft right now. He's drowning. That's what he's doing. Reaching really, really hard.
Phone.
I'm just curious.
No, you can absolutely not. I have not had one communication with a single person, not even my producers who are in there this whole time we were here. You want to check my phone? I'm happy to do it because you're just going to get double embarrassed. Where's my phone?
You want to see it?
I'm just curious. Yeah.
You can literally do that. Here you go. PBD, you're the moderator.
Okay.
Take it.
Let's see
See
it.
if anyone was texted at all during this debate
All right.
about the violent charges or anything.
I'm looking through this. You give me permission.
You
I'm
have
looking
full
I'm not gonna
permission to
give
go
names.
through my phone. I don't need to
So
cheat.
the last one has nothing to do with it. It's just a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even read my text messages.
That's
so
a compliment.
he's reading them.
You're okay. You'll give me permission.
Yes.
I'm just going to read 311
Yes.
to 1132 because after that, I don't need to read.
Andrew Wilson's
How
foot.
do you know their texts? Could have been Telegram. Could have been something.
All
like
I
that.
have is Signal. You can check that too.
Desperation. Could have been Telegram, Signal. Man, this is so embarrassing. He knows he lost the debate, and he's trying to find a way to get back in.
Only have Signal. Telegram I used in Russia.
Okay.
And that was it. I downloaded it for
I'll
Russia.
take your word for it.
Yeah.
Then-
I don't need to I
Okay.
deeply care about this case. I don't need to pretend
I get
to
it.
know
If you
stuff that
deeply
I
care
don't
about
know.
the case, I
Yeah.
just, I have my other question is about the steakhouse receipt.
All right. So as you can see, this was a really bad look for Andrew Wilson in this debate. And I mean, look, Candace Owens, she came in very prepared. She had detailed knowledge, and as you know, we've been following this case along with Candace, for almost a year now, for many months. She had detailed knowledge of the case filings, the charging documents. She knew her sources, and Andrew Wilson just really relied on gotcha moments, gotcha clips from her past content that it wasn't agreed that that's what was going to be shown. And he seemed very less familiar with the primary evidence of the case. And the fact that he opened up reading from his phone for about 6 minutes, I think, 6 or 7 minutes, barely looked up at Candace, barely looked up at PBD, just reading from his phone, claiming that Tyler Robinson was the shooter and he had overwhelming evidence. And PBD later in the broadcast asked, hey, from 0 to 100, put it from 0 to 100, how much do you believe that Tyler Robinson is guilty? And he said about 75%, 75 to 85% or something like that. And this really was an admission that it's an admission of reasonable doubt. If you're convinced that the evidence is overwhelming 75%, that undercuts the overwhelming claim. And again, for me, the biggest standout moment of this debate was Candace reciting those charges from memory. And then asked Wilson before that, before she recited the charges, asked Wilson, can you cite even just one? And he says, I think murder. I think murder. And Candace made the distinction between murder and aggravated murder because one carries the death sentence, and he did not want to concede. He thought that wasn't really important, and it is very important. One, murder, you could do life in prison, and aggravated murder is the death sentence in Utah. So, in this debate, Wilson spent so much time trying to quote farm and attack Candace's year-long investigation with out of context clips, um, rather than really affirming or championing or defending any evidence that Tyler acted alone and he was the lone gunman atop the Losey Center. So this debate was, like I said, it wasn't so much a great debate per se. It was more like proof, evidence that TPUSA and that uh, establishment narrative is just continuing to fall apart. Like I said, it was very awkward. He came up with this. What did he say? He said something about the contract that they signed. That he was able to ask Candace questions, which Candace said wasn't true. Yeah, and just overall, I think he looked unprepared. He was more like trying to, mud wrestle with a pregnant woman, you know. And Andrew Wilson just really looked bad. And I just don't agree with PBD's stance that he's the big winner because he made money and he's got more exposure. Yeah. So tell me what you think about that. Comment, like the video. And he also wanted to he talked about the receipt, the steakhouse receipt. They talked about that a little bit and he didn't want to accept that. He started bringing up, the merchant, Visa or MasterCard, whatever it was. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? I think if the owner of the steakhouse is presenting a receipt, what's in it for him? Right? I think that's good enough evidence to take and, for Candace to put that on her timeline. So yeah, tell me what you think about this. We're going to move on into the next portion of our show. Not going to go on too long here. Just real quick, we're going to look at what's going on with Jared Kushner. So Jared Kushner, as you know, is the son-in-law of Donald Trump, and he recently went to
today we had
to the Middle East to have discussions with Hamas and Bibi Netanyahu. So he doesn't. The thing about Jared Kushner is, it's nepotism, right? He doesn't hold an official or official governmental position. He's not an employee of the government, so he doesn't work for us, the people, right? He serves as an envoy, right? An envoy for the president. And he's a key person in this peace, this Trump's board of peace, what concerning Middle East issues. But the problem is that he's always consistently sided with the Israeli security priorities in the Gaza conflict. So, as you know, he met with Hamas, he met with Bibi. Let's go ahead and watch this clip here on Fox News.
Here is what Terrell did.
Had a very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats. And so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides. and we're going to hopefully get through. But we've made a lot of progress to get here. For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job in the appropriate way.
All right. So this is the problem I have with this. They're asking Hamas, and look, we know Hamas. I'm not like on the side of Hamas or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, Israel has been occupying Gaza for decades and committing many atrocities. And we know Israel's record as far as respecting ceasefires goes. That's something they don't do. Now, Trump has his 15-point Gaza plan or roadmap that's supposed to phase out Hamas disarmament. And that's supposed to be matched with Israeli force adjustments. So supposedly, theoretically, if Hamas disarms, then Israel pulls back. And then when Israel pulls back, then they could bring in the humanitarian aid and then proceed with reconstruction, as Jared Kushner mentioned. Now, Netanyahu, his position is that, well, he just wants perpetual war. We all know Netanyahu, he's bloodthirsty. He just wants war. They want to take over that area, Gaza. They want to take over all of it. And I don't believe that they're good faith actors. And really, most Americans aren't believing that. The majority of Americans aren't believing that. So with Hamas, they're being asked to disarm, but they're also like, wait a minute, if we disarm, Israel is not going to honor that. They're going to continue to attack, and they're going to continue to annex more territory. So what's in it for Hamas? I mean, why would Hamas disarm when history has shown them that Israel is going to continue to aggress? So this is clearly Jared Kushner siding with Israeli forces, with Bibi Netanyahu. So there is this like deadlock. I don't think this plan is going to work. I don't think Hamas is going to disarm. So I don't know what's going to happen, what the outcome of this is all going to be. And, we'll just continue to watch. But at the same time, I think this needs to end. If someone is going to represent American interests overseas, that person should be an official, should have an official position with the government. That's what I believe. Not nepotism, not someone who is making money with all these deals overseas, right? Because it sounds like to me that he's just looking for his interest, for the Trump empire. And, we're not with that. We want to see an end to this. We want to see an end to this conflict as well. All right. So go ahead and comment on that. Tell me what you think. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And then we're going to move on into our next topic, our last topic, which is we're going to look at a video from Mohammad Marandi. As you know, he's been very popular speaking on behalf of Iran in this conflict. And we're going to hear what he has to say.
Iran has been targeting U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf, and those assets could be anything that's linked to the United States. The United States is bombing hospitals. The United States is bombing schools. The United States is bombing Iranian national radio and television alongside the Israeli regime. So U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf, they too will be attacked. but assets that belong to the states in the Persian Gulf region, they have not been touched by the Iranians. However, if they host US forces, because many of the soldiers have left their bases and been taken to hotels, the Iranians will target them. So at the end of the day, if they want this problem to end, they have to expel soldiers of the Epstein regime. Iran has been targeting US assets in the Persian Gulf, and those assets could be anything that's linked to the United States.
Okay, so Professor Marandi, I think when you look at like what it looks like in Iran, how the Iranian people are so proud of their country, of their heritage. You know, the Persians have been around forever, and for Trump to think that, or to take the advice of people around him that they'd be able, like Bibi Netanyahu, that they'd be able to take out the Persian Empire or Iran in 2 weeks is absurd. It's crazy to think that Trump actually thought that he could do that. And Iran has proven that they're not an easy foe to deal with. Now, when Israel gave Trump the assessment that they could take out Iran in 2 weeks, it's because they wanted to take southern Lebanon. So Iran was going to be dealt with by the United States, and Israel now will be free to move into southern Lebanon and annex that area and continue the war that Bibi Netanyahu so desperately needs. As you know, he has elections coming up and he needs to stay in power. He's got all kind of issues going on domestically over there, corruption charges against him. So the Iran war has not gone well for the United States, and we are, we're suffering for that. This is not something that Trump ran on. He said no more wars, and we're 170 plus days now into this war that was supposed to be just 2 weeks. Then it was supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks, and we're 170 days now into this war. This is not going to bode well for the primaries coming up this fall. And now you hear all this talk about the Strait of Hormuz and that it's going to become a U.S. territory, according to Trump. I don't know. It's just not going to work. It's just going to get worse and worse. And Trump needs to just, chalk this up as a loss. Try to make it look as good as possible. Try to make it look like somehow it's a U.S. victory. But he needs to get out. The longer he stays in Iran, the worse it's going to get. So Professor Marandi is basically saying that Iran is very prepared. They're prepared for a ground invasion. They don't believe that they can lose. They also have very good media or propaganda that they're putting out, with the Lego videos. And Iran is, I think, is reasonable based off of what I've seen. That they want to be reasonable. They were the ones that were attacked. But I think the problem is that it's Israel. Israel is pushing all of these worlds in the Middle East. And again, Marandi, he's like the prominent Iranian voice, and not endorsing Marandi, but I'm just saying, like, in being fair, the Iranian people are a sovereign country, right? They're a sovereign country. I don't know what's going on over there, politically and stuff like that, but they're a sovereign country, and it would be a better situation, I think, for the United States if we just work with them. 90 million people, do trade with them, do business with them, respect them as a country, and the Middle East would be a safer place, a much more secure place. Okay, so we're going to continue to follow this, and I'm going to wrap up the show on that. Thank you guys for being with me here on my first live. I've got a lot to learn about this and what we talked about today, with Candace Owens and the debate and the new footage, never before seen footage of Terrell Farnsworth. Let me know what you thought about that. Comment on that, and we'll be back again with another live stream. Thank you guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Peace.